continue. Okay, hi.
Hi.
My name is Isabel Araiza, and I'm from For the Greater Good.
I'm Elida Castillo. I'm from CHISPA Texas.
And I'm Blanca Parkinson, and I'm from Corpus.
So we decided to come together and start this, I guess, platica. And we decided to call it En Serio, and it's basically because there's just so much stuff going on, and it's hard to write about. It's hard to talk about, and we figured we actually have a good time sharing information.
Yeah. And we call it En Serio because like when we're giving information or sharing this information with our families and friends, and they're like, En Serio? Like, or like En Serio. So like, yes, things are really happening here. And we want to share what we know with you.
Yes, and this is a great way to do it because, like I was saying earlier, it's really hard to get the facts out. We are being bombarded constantly by our local media with propaganda to push projects that are just not good for the region. And this is an easier way to get some of the facts out, and then you don't have to be the crazy person on Facebook that typed a paragraph this long trying to just inform people. So we're glad you're here.
Yeah, for sure. And I was just going to say too that I think that a lot of people feel nervous about participating and adding their 2 cents, and they're concerned about the concerns that they have with the community because they feel like they're not the experts. And the reality is
The experts don't know anything.
they make stuff up.
Yeah.
Watch your back. So
Especially with some of these projects, they are really making it up as they go. They really are.
Yeah. And you don't believe us? Watch a council meeting.
Yes, exactly.
maybe we'll get some highlights for you guys so that we can show y'all. We'll do
Yeah,
it.
that would be fine.
Yeah.
Yes, some clips. Let us know.
Okay, so one of the things that we wanted to talk about, because it's happening pretty quickly, is the dredging permit. And so I guess honestly, my position where I come from with this is just about me loving the bay and having a basic awareness of what's going on. And so again, you don't need to be an expert to be able to tell our public officials that you don't like it, you don't want it. And so that I think that's also super important. So we'll provide as much information as we can, and find out stuff too, because Blanca's dad is incredible.
My dad is he's a certified engineer. Maybe we can have him on one day, and he's really taken the time to read some of these permit applications and really understand them, because the truth is they are by design made to confuse us, and he's retired and he has the time to do it, and it's his bread and butter. He did it for longer than I've been alive. So the information you're getting, we will put contact information up and you're free to verify with him. He loves talking to people. But it is important to know that like Isabel just said, we really have to move away from being afraid that we're not experts and being afraid to say, no, we don't want this, and to not feel intimidated in these meetings, because that's the idea, for us to feel that way. And the truth is, like, this project was Elida, you could probably help me out here, 2,400 page document. Again, per the engineer that read it, that's very weak in actual, studies, but it's just, he described it as labyrinthic. And the community was given less than 30 days to read it and analyze it, digest it, and respond to it. So if we're gonna wait till we're experts, we're never gonna stand up for where we live.
Exactly. And going back to like the feeling of intimidation, I came into this not knowing anything about LNG, liquefied natural gas, and exports and things of that nature. But in the course of the work, I've been learning and studying it, but the bottom line is how it affects you, how it affects the family, how it affects our futures. And we need to save our bay, because people coming here, they are not interested in taking care of this area. It's like, how can they maximize their profits at the sacrifice of our communities and our future? And this dredging project, what they want to do is they want to deepen the area from 54 feet to almost 80 feet, which is deeper than the Suez Canal. And all of that spoil, that toxic clay and dirt and all that they want to take out from the channel deepening project, they want to transfer it to, like, you know, some other areas or landfills or, you know, things around there. And this is happening like near Redfish Bay. And Redfish Bay, I mean, that's critical to this area. That's where like all the fish nurseries are. So if you love fishing, you know, please get involved. If you love spending time at the beach there in Port A, please get involved, because this project is going to affect us all, and not in a good way.
And so just to kind of clarify, the Port of Corpus Christi wants to deepen the channel, right? From, and I saw this, it was to deepen the channel from 54 feet to 79 feet or 81 feet. And again, like those super giant tankers, they want those big giant ones that can't fit into our bay now to be able to come into our bay, but they also want
I
to
believe 2 at a time.
yeah,
right?
increase traffic. Yeah, they
Yeah.
want to double the amount of traffic. And
Yeah.
not too long ago, we went on a boat tour with some people who live on Ingleside on the bay, and they were showing us how when the boats come in, the water wakes, and then you can actually see the brown kind of come up from the water, and then that destroys the seagrass, right? And the seagrass is the kind of the nursery
Yeah.
of the plants. Can you talk about your dad? Because your dad said that you were talking where your dad lives,
Right.
and how it's changed.
It has since like 20-30 years ago, we referring to the north end of Corpus Christi Bay, which is the end of the bay that's getting really impacted hard by these projects. And so I think here in town, it's easy to say it's far away, but it's an ecosystem. They're all connected. Yes, in the earlier 90s, I do remember there being rich, healthy seagrasses, and there was shrimp, there was oysters, there were crabs. All of that is their food, it's their nest, it's their nursery. It's no different than destroying somebody's home. It's no different than that. It's and then the birds depend on that. And yeah, over time, that has changed. Not so much in the Portland area, but I know like IOB Ingleside is the where the tankers come in, those grasses never recover. They never recover from everything falling on them. And it's really the nest, the bases, their food, their home, and it's in danger. It's all in danger with these projects. And just to add to what Elida said, I believe on this model here, it's saying that some of the dredge spoils they want to put right on the beach. Yeah, so.
Yeah, because as we have been talking about the seagrasses, we've lost hundreds of acres of seagrass, and that's important to this area, especially when there's a hurricane. Those seagrasses really help reduce the impact of that. And also, you know, the erosion of soil in our coastline, seagrasses help with that. So without having these seagrasses in place, the effects of this area can be a lot more detrimental. So it's really important that we protect our seagrasses. It's important that we protect our bay. It's really important that we get this information, and that you ask, like, how can we get involved? Because you can still comment on it. So the United States Army Corps of Engineers is accepting comments until July 25th on this issue. So please email them. We'll give you the information, the permit number that you use, and reach out if you need more information on this.
I was going to say that actually For the Greater Good went ahead and made copies of the forms that where you can write your comments about your positions. And so it's already got the address on there, and we even bought stamps. So we can get you the form and you can fill it out. And again, you don't have to be scientific in order to say that you have concerns about this and that you don't want it. You just have to let your voice be heard. To be real honest with you, we've got a lot of work to do in this community. Part of why they chose, or part of why we've been chosen, is for this kind of industrial build out, is because they took for granted that people wouldn't say anything. And I definitely get the sense that as we have been able to get the word out and have conversations about what's going on in our community, you know, everybody knows, and we love our area, right? And so once people start to find out, they're like, wait a second. And if you look, the paperwork is sloppy, right? The rationales, they change things left and right just to suit their purposes. And we get treated just kind of like sacrificial lambs.
Yeah.
And so, you know, our public officials are accustomed to doing whatever industry wants. And historically in our area, people haven't really pushed back, but we can, right? And I think that in order for the like EPA, for TCEQ to have their feet to the fire, there's got to be people who are saying that we don't want this, there's too much of it, and so it's really important to take that first step. And again, you don't need to be scientific. I know I just don't want it. I don't want those big giant super tankers. I mean, I just went to the National Seashore like a week ago, and it's so beautiful, and
It really is.
makes me sad to think that we're potentially destroying that. And then the other thing I was thinking about is, like, who would want to come to the university and see, like, driving in and know that we're by these flammable, toxic, you know.
I believe that was something else that was in the permit that came up, was air quality. When they start loading the tankers, it's gonna be a problem. There's gonna be more pollutants in the air, aside from just probably a bay that nobody can swim in, you know. And as somebody who is very familiar with the Nueces Bay, because it's close to where I live on the northwest side of Corpus Christi, the day comes that they put the sign up and it's just no more fishing, no more swimming, and it never comes back down. The sign is never going to come back down. They're never going to come clean that bay. They're never going to come and reverse what they've done. And we just don't need any more signs that say no fishing or property, no swimming, this is contaminated. You know, waters all over Texas are contaminated. I see clearly that people want to come here. They want to come here for the water. You know, I was thinking about it the other day and thinking about maybe taking a getaway somewhere in Texas, because I can't leave. Because I've got kids that are in programs and things, but I thought, I don't want to be anywhere except the beach right now, because it's burning everywhere. And so we have to preserve that, because once it's gone, it doesn't come back. It doesn't come back. And I had something else I wanted to add and I can't think. Just adding to what Isabel said, that I think was always something that held me back from speaking up on comments like this, was just feeling like really intimidated. Like, I don't really know what people know in there. I don't want to go in that building. I think just some of us I think some of it might be cultural, you know, that we've kind of had that mentality for a long time. But I agree 1000% with what Isabel says. You don't have to wait to be an expert. When I've started going to these meetings, I'm just gonna say it, you know, it was like, oh, so they're kind of like crooks and they're dumb, because their presentations were like cartoons that really had no science, no substance. And we've been fortunate to have someone with the credentials that can back us up and say, no, this isn't done right. This is sloppy. This isn't certified by engineers. This wasn't truly studied. This is a scam. It's a scam that we're being sold. And so again, just to weigh in on that, let's get involved. Let's make our voices heard, and let's stop being really afraid. Stop being afraid and intimidated. And on that, I will say that going in with a group of people, it makes me feel so much stronger. It makes me feel so much more confident, especially a group of people like these organizations that are really informed and really just want to get the word out. I've learned so much from these organizations about what's truly going on. And it just makes everything that's going on in the local news seem by design, really. They don't want us to know.
No, and like a real in Serio,
Yeah.
like is at these hearings, whenever we have like the public meetings. Recently, we had a public meeting with Chenier, who's wanting to increase their air permit, what they pollute. We had one with Valero, we had one with concrete batch plant, Champion Concrete, and also with Flint Hills Resources. And none of them provide you with data. They seek these permits. The information they give you is not about the permit or how much it's going to pollute the area. Y nada de eso. Like it's all about like how many volunteer hours, you know, their employees have contributed to the community, how much money they have thrown to different organizations and the food bank. Pero no te dicen like what the negative impacts are, like, you know, these VLCCs that they want to load with natural gas or with oil, all of that is taking resources from here and shipping it overseas to Europe, who's like the newest consumer of LNG in the area. You know, because of the war in Ukraine, they're trying to use that as a reason for exporting more and forget about, you know, our communities and how much pollution we're going to be exposed to. It's like we need to export porque hacen más dinero. Like it's all about money at the end of the day. And when we talk about like these VLCCs, these very large crude carriers or these LNG ships, they're not tiny. Like the ships that they want to load through this project, they're bigger than the Eiffel Tower. So imagínate, like the Eiffel Tower, like the ships are, you know, several meters bigger than that. So that is what they want to put in the bay. And with every ship that they load, we're talking about at least 2 million barrels of oil or of gas. Look at your gas prices right now. Look at not just what we're paying at the pump when you know, have to fill up your car, but your electricity bills. Todo eso like impacts your bottom line, your pocketbooks. So this is why it's very important. When you look at 2 million barrels of gas that we're exporting, of crude oil that we're exporting, there's 42 gallons of oil in every barrel. So with that, you know,
again, so there's 42
gallons of oil in every barrel. And we're talking about 2 million barrels of oil that they want to export every day. And that's just on one tanker. You get in like 2 or more.
And
tankers.
the dredging is to do more and more. By 2030, it's gonna be insane. And that's in the application. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but by 2030, it's literally all gonna be leaving. I don't understand what, and again, I don't like to be divisive, but I do remember a certain narrative when like Trump ran, and it was this narrative of like, we need to stop propping up shithole countries. Okay. And you know, you look at these plans and we have, you know, people that assume that these plans are for us and to prop up our country and to help us and that are going to alleviate us at the pump. And the truth is, I think it's time we step back and we look at what countries we really are propping up and why. And what we're propping them up with. And again, don't get caught up in that narrative that we need this because it's not for us. Like Elida pointed out, it's not for us.
And if that were true, if this is about like our economic independence, our energy independence, all of this domestic production, I mean, we live here, like we live in the area where the refineries are, where this product is processed and all that. And our gas prices ain't cheap. Like, you know, we go to other parts of Texas and they're paying a lot.
And all I see in my neighborhood is blight. I don't see the prosperity. I don't. I try. I've been accused of being negative, but I try, and I really don't. I see liquor stores. I see car washes, liquor stores, stack flares, rundown parks. That's what I see. So it is time for a change. It is time. As someone who was completely desensitized to this, it's the problem. It's the problem. If you can't figure out what it is that you don't like about this town, it's probably that it's getting very polluted. And there's more of that coming.
Yeah, and when we think about it, you know, we're paying for these industries to be here. They like to say a lot, you know, like tell us of how much they contribute and all that, but they don't tell you how much they're taking from us. They don't do it for free. They go to the state, they go to the school districts and they file, you know, to have like these tax abatements and these, you know, subsidies, and then they grant it to them because they're like, well, they're gonna give us this, you know, it's kind of like a check cashing place. Like, you get this much in return, but when you have to pay it back, it's like your interest is like 500% and more. That's the way it is with these, you know, industries. Like, say for example, Chenier, they take for every job that they create $3 million. Now imagine if they ain't paying their taxes, who's paying that?
Yeah. Yeah.
We are.
Yeah, and I was gonna say too, like, if you look at the Port of Corpus Christi's own report, they wrote that the Port of Corpus Christi has increased, the crude oil inventories exported at the Port of Corpus Christi have increased from 280,000 barrels per day in 2017 to approximately 1.65 million barrels in January 2020, with forecasts increasing to 4.5 million barrels per day in 2030. And so they're exporting more and more and more.
Those were the numbers, yeah.
Yeah, somebody's getting real rich, but it's not Corpus, it's not Portland, it's not Gregory, it's not any of those communities. We're still with our potholes. We're still with our parks that don't have water. We're still with caliche in our potholes because it's too expensive, or they don't even fix our streets in the neighborhoods.
No.
Yeah.
And so it's not bringing us prosperity, right? And so and we deserve better.
And on top of that, they're poisoning us and people we love. Simple, plain and simple. They're poisoning us. I believe Chenier just pretty much asked the EPA for a blank check because they know they can't do things right. They know that they can't export at this maniacal rate and do it correctly. So we're sacrificed in the process. And really we gotta stand up and let them know that they can't do that, that we're not okay with it. And I think that the more we do it, the more they're gonna eventually someday get the message that we don't want to hear.
Yeah.
What did the Color Times say? And I took issue with that, with the Color Times. There's a or what they say, there's a growing number of environmentally minded people showing up at these things, you know, and they're presenting significant roadblocks. And, you know, I take issue with that language. I take issue with the way they separate us from the public. I take issue with the way they say these are preliminary hearings. That implies that this is like this is just the pesky public that we have to deal with. They're public meetings. That's the point of these meetings. We are the point of the meetings, you know, and so we go in and we get these things, and the word roadblock, really, I take issue with that word.
So the people are the roadblock to their profits.
Right. Because really, I would think that the organizations and the individuals who are attending these and they're not presenting roadblocks. They are raising issues and they are raising concerns, and they are legitimately founded issues and concerns taken straight from their propaganda. And they do not like being questioned. And it seems like the older I get, the more I have a problem with that. It's not right. It's not right. Like, I'm sorry to bother you, but you're kind of in my way.
Like, this is where we live. I mean,
Yes.
think about all of those industries that are going to be who are moving their product through our area. They don't live here,
No,
right?
no.
Their kids don't go to our schools.
Right.
They don't pay our taxes.
Nope.
Right? They don't contribute to our infrastructure,
No.
but they want us to breathe the pollution. They want us to deal with whatever they're going to do to our water, right? Whatever falls onto our land.
Yep.
And so, I mean, how dare they call us roadblocks?
Yeah, right. They're presenting serious roadblocks In the, what did it say? I don't quote me, but it was
Yeah.
one along those lines, and I've gotten that feeling, since I started speaking up. That you don't belong here. In Ingleside, I was told you're not from here. In the city council, you know, it's almost like there is now a ruling class in the coastal bend, and we need to wake up and see who it is. Okay?
Yeah.
And they're not that smart.
They're
No,
not,
they're not.
they're not.
Qué vergüenza. Like, they're not.
Like, have you read your own reports? Your own reports that your departments produce.
Yeah,
Like, if you read them, you would not be okay with what's going on here.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, and all this that they're doing, like they say it right here, current facilities require vessel lightning to fully load very large crude carriers, which increases costs and affects safety. So it's all about the cost for them and how, what they can do to reduce those costs. And they say safety for them, but not about our safety.
Right.
Because
Load it up,
sell
it,
and then
send it away.
And it's like 2 million barrels of oil right now. They want to do 4 million barrels of oil.
Yeah.
So when you're struggling to put gas in your car because those prices are going up, es this por qué? Because
Yeah.
we're sending out what we have here.
Yeah.
Like our resources, those are being shipped out to the highest bidder.
Every drop. Yes, yeah. I think I'm glad that was cleared up, because I think there is a lot of confusion as to what I find just from looking at the big picture is that people assume if they run out and support or are mean to people on Facebook and support of the port, that they're gonna feel relief. That if they run out and support anything that's just oil and gas related, it's gonna help this economy. It's gonna help our country. No,
It's not.
no,
I mean,
it's not. So if y'all could stop doing that too.
yeah. I mean,
Seriously.
we're celebrating like
Like stop cussing
Yeah.
out and calling me names for Sean Strawbridge. He doesn't care about it.
He doesn't care. He doesn't care.
Strong
He cares about
construction.
how much did
Sean
he get?
Strawbridge don't like you.
Yeah.
Little girl don't like you.
No. How much did he make last year on this?
Over $1 million? Was it?
Yeah, well, his thing like was over $1 million, but didn't he get like a $250,000 bonus?
Oh, that's right, yeah.
You know,
The county gave it to
so
him.
yeah, like that is, you know, $250,000 for exporting all of this product, which, you know,
Real quick, what didn't the port begin the Harbor Bridge project? What was that like led by the port, and then why was that handed over to TxDOT? Because I hear that misconception too a lot, that this is a TxDOT thing. I don't think TxDOT moves in a county or in a city without the officials in that county and city being involved somehow. And I know now they're that to me is a perfect example of a mismanaged project.
Yeah.
And we don't need any more of those.
and if TxDOT didn't initiate, if they didn't initiate it, like the port definitely was very involved in the picking of the location,
Yeah.
which they displaced a lot of Hillcrest residents for, and they were trying to raise that bridge because they wanted to allow for bigger tanker ships to pass under there. So all of the infrastructure here, no es para nosotros, like
Right, they
it's
have
not
their
for our
hand in that,
benefit.
yeah,
It's for, you know,
their buddies.
yeah, they're buddies, the industry, because if it worked for us, fix the streets. You know, how many times have you had to get your car lined, had to get new tires, getting all that replaced because we have like we're in our CHISPA Texas office, so we're close to the crosswalk that the city recently unveiled a few months ago. And tenían like a big celebration on this crosswalk, and it was so beautiful. It rained the following day, and they're all nettles now. Like they're like
Oh my goodness.
black, and like, you know, and they spent $40,000 to $60,000 on that project.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just fix the roads.
Yeah, or a crew.
Beautify
to
it.
Pay a crew to clean the
So
bathrooms
that's the other
and
thing
stuff.
too, man. I don't
Yeah.
understand why they need to celebrate themselves and throw like a pachanga
Right,
themselves for
right.
doing their job.
Right, I'm tired of
That
that.
just
Yeah.
blows my mind. I don't,
Yeah.
for me, I'm like, in serio.
I wonder if, you know, do they come thinking like for example, our county commissioners or like our city, do they come thinking that it has to be like a big bang, like it's gotta, like the mayor's celebration, like wouldn't it, like just fix some of the things that
Yeah.
you started, stop taking on these grandiose plans that do not get executed correctly, like the Harbor Bridge. that is not like, it's just dangling there. To me, that's the perfect example of something that was mismanaged, that we didn't need in the first place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, like, just stop.
I mean,
Starting new things, just finish. I would be perfectly okay with elected officials that came in and said, you know what? We're not getting shiny and new, we're fixing, like, that would be great.
That would be wonderful,
That would
yeah,
be really
like those
amazing, yeah.
90-year-old water lines, 70-year-old water lines. Yeah, that's the other thing, they've been like patting themselves on the back for the roads and for like the repairs. One, we got sued by the EPA because we weren't doing what we were supposed to do, so there's
Yeah.
that. And then two, they actually got money from the federal government to enable them to do some of this work. And so, yeah, like they're not, making sound choices and using our resources responsibly. I know that's the city and the project with the channels, the port, but it's all part and parcel. When they don't expect us to say something, they don't behave right? They do things that are expedient for themselves, shiny, so they can get their bonuses, or they can, like have those little celebrations for them doing their jobs.
Yeah, yeah.
And but really it's like the emperors have no clothes.
And we, like, again, we can't, we've just gotta go, and every time that you speak up, you start feeling a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
And you start realizing, like, this is what, this is what we need.
Yeah.
And if I didn't see them making such a giant effort to discredit us, I would say it's not making an impact. But to me, it's a compliment that they go so far above and beyond to avoid us. Thank you. Thank you for that.
and if you think this is not an issue, how many times have you gone out to buy bottled water? Because you don't trust what's coming out of the tap, or you have to get filters, or you can't water your gardens because we're under restrictions, but everything that's applied to the people doesn't apply to industry.
Yeah.
How
I was
does it-
gonna ask,
Go ahead.
did they have to like curtail their water?
I started to open up the conservation plan, and from what I understand, the first phase is just irrigation. So maybe they stopped watering their
Oh, okay.
beautiful facilities. But as far as the 25 million gallons that they use, I don't think that they get limited on that.
Because I'm also curious, I mean, not just because like Gulf Coast Growth Ventures, who uses what we know, more or less 20 million gallons of water a day is what they tell us. But the facility,
Polymers, CC Polymers.
so CC Polymers uses a lot, but there's also, I don't know, like there's so many facilities down Refinery Row, but where they have those huge piles of pet coke.
Oh yeah.
Like, they had to water
I've
it
seen
down
them
so
doing
that
that,
it doesn't spray all over the place, like,
Yeah.
with the wind. So I'm wondering how much water they
Yeah.
use per day, and then they're being told, you can't do that, although we kind of want them to pack it down because we don't want to be breathing more of that stuff. We already are, which,
Yeah.
but the concerning part is right now with it being so hot, like the water evaporates before it even hits that pile.
Right.
So we're
It's
still
not-
breathing all that.
It's not
Yeah.
effective.
Yeah, not at all. It's like watering a dead garden. Like that's what they're doing right now with that.
We should have a whole day for water.
Yeah.
We should.
Next to water.
Yeah, because it does bother me to see the lies out there. That's another thing that really bothers me a lot. The lies about the water. And not that we have a problem conserving. I think Corpus did really good conserving in the past, and I don't have a problem conserving. But it's something is up with the way industry is curtailed. Because I noticed one of the councilmen told the city manager, wink, wink, we need to just put an executive summary of that conservation plan. And he was like, yeah, we've already done that, sir. We've already done that. So I got the impression that he doesn't want us reading that. So if y'all have time, you want to crack that open and start looking and seeing, really, they are coming down to the point where they are going to control every aspect of your water use. Laundromats, car washes, restaurants, watering, it's here. I think we all have a habit of saying it's coming, it's here, it's here. They and the desal is for more. We should have a
Yeah.
whole day of water.
Yeah, we'll have a water day. We'll have a decent
Water
day.
week, water week.
Water, yeah.
Water is the end.
Yes, this is no way in any way of us, saying we need desal. I think this is like for us saying we don't need desal.
That's for them,
because
it's committing
it's
even more to them.
yeah, for their use,
Yeah.
not for, but
And
who's
we
gonna be paying for it?
Yeah.
we pay, yeah.
Okay, so just as a real quick kind of a recap, again, what our primary thing is that there's gonna be, the Port of Corpus Christi is asking to deepen the channel from 50 feet to 80 feet. I'm like, that's general.
And throw the spoils
Right.
on the
On the
beach, onto
That's
the
right.
beach where people do swim and fish.
Yes.
Yeah. And then, and so they're taking public comments. The Army Corps of Engineers is basically also required to consider impact on climate change or climate, the consequences of climate change in their decision-making process. So there's a whole bunch of reasons why this is a bad idea, right? And so what we can do is we'll give you the contact information. You can private message us or post, and we'll get with you so that you can get the information to write the letter. And again, you don't need to be an expert. You can just raise some of your concerns, and hopefully if enough people say something.
The map.
You wanna put that on the email?
Yeah, we'll put the map on here, but
Yeah.
just let me read you
Okay.
a comment on here. This is, our friends at PAC, Port Aransas Conservancy and Ingleside on the Bay Coastal Watch put some flyers together, and they said the proposed ship turning basin is right next to the ferry landing. While a large crude carrier is being turned and berthed, all maritime traffic will be shut down in all directions for at least 1 hour per ship. No ferries will be allowed to run.
So that's
So-
gonna be the new future reporting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ferries.
no ferries.
For-
So
yeah.
if you take the ferry to go to Port A, like that is in jeopardy. So that's why it's really important. Like they don't give us all the details. They try to sell us on like why we need this, but all they, it's really about them needing this to make more money. And, they're expecting the people not to speak up and, not know enough about it. But if, like we said, if you live here, if you work here, if you vacation here, if you have family here, if you just, appreciate the bay and being able to visit or to where you don't have to drive all the way down to South Padre, this is for you. This is an opportunity to get involved and help us save this area. So let me get a little closer.
No.
This is the project of it. Excuse my nails, sorry. They're terrible. Yeah, sorry. And then here is the email information, and we'll make this more accessible for you.
And it's on the front
so that-
too in red, and
Yeah.
you see it up in that corner.
Oh, yes.
It's real good right there.
Right here. Email comments to SWG 2019 00067 at USACE Army .mil by July 25th. So we'll make this easier for you to
Yes.
And
in your comments.
we have, For the Greater Good has 100 of those forms already with the address, and we have stamps. So if you want us to get you those things that you can write it handwritten, no, we would be happy to do that too. So we've got a week. We can do it.
It's about a week.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Also, there's supposed to be a presentation on desalination in the Oso Bay Wetlands Preserve. There's a flyer going around Facebook. We want to speak up because it's being hosted in the Oso Bay Preserve, and it's actually kind of backwards that we're being invited as the public, maybe not us, but as the public to hear a sales pitch about desalination in the Oso Bay when they're gonna put this plant in the Corpus Christi Bay. So that's Thursday evening from 6 to 7. We're gonna be there to ask questions and
They're so
be
backwards.
heard. Yes,
Very
they are.
backwards.
It's so backwards to put it again. This is a desal plants that are gonna affect the northwest part of the bay and the part over there, Indian Point Pier, Portland. we need you guys to speak up, because they're keeping us in the dark about it, and that's another water body that's gonna all of a sudden have a sign there that you can't fish there or swim there anymore. And I know y'all love Indian Point.
Yeah.
So Thursday evening, you have to register and this and that, but it'll be a good example of their commercials and how they really aren't that scientific. We're excited.
Looking forward to it. Okay, so then we should go ahead and wrap it up, guys, because we've been at it for a little bit. But all right, thanks. This is our maiden.
The
Our
first one.
the first one. All right, we'll see you guys soon.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Speed up. Don't be
Yes.
shy.
Yes.